don't go together.
Hi friends, my name is Mackenzie, also known as Emtothethird, and this is the Emtothethird Knitting Podcast, episode something. Last episode, I said something very confidently and then added text to correct myself, and then when I uploaded it, I realized what I said was correct, but I had already downloaded the video. I was like, it just happened, so I'm just not gonna say what number we're at, and I'll put it in down here in text. Yes, hi, my name is Mackenzie, and I am a knitter, a natural dyer, and yeah, hi. If you're new here, I am a queer fat maker. All of those things are very positive to me, and if you've been looking for queer plus size representation within the knitting world, you've come to the right place, and I'm really happy to have you here. I am coming to you from Portland, Oregon, where we are in a freaking heat wave. So I'm trying to negate the sounds of the fans and the AC by using a separate recording system over here, and I really hope it works. So I apologize if the audio isn't the best. I am saving up to buy some lapel mics because I think it's time, especially with my other podcast that I do with my friend Tim called Sibling Energy. Yeah, definitely running into some not ideal audio quality moments, so figuring that out. I've got just off screen, maybe a little on screen, my graveyard of beverages. I've got some seltzer with one single ice cube in it because I used it all for iced coffee this morning. We're really having a great time over here. Kay and I, my partner and I, do have an AC unit, but we only have one, and it just makes the most sense to have it downstairs in the living room, and it has been so sweltering upstairs that we have just been sleeping here, basically. We have a campy mattress, and Kay's been sleeping on there, and then I've been sleeping on the couch. It's yeah, we're having a grand old time here in Portland. This weekend was July 4th weekend, holiday weekend here in the States, and we did get some nice swimming in. And also on Sunday, I was able to meet up with a bunch of my spinning friends at Peninsula Park. Peninsula Park is a really beautiful park here in Portland that has one of I think the oldest public rose garden in the country. Has a lovely half-mile loop around it, and there were about 12 of us with our spinning wheels. Some people showed up just with their knitting, and we got a lot of cute kids coming up and looking and seeing what we were doing, and I just had a blast just hanging out with spinners and talking about spinning, especially because not this last weekend, but the weekend before, I was at Black Sheep Gathering, selling yarn and fiber, and really wanting to itch the spinning bug. So I definitely have some spinning to talk about with you a little later. But I've also got some FOs and some other fun stuff for this episode. So welcome. Happy to have you here. And the first order of business is that there was a giveaway in the last podcast episode. So I did pick a winner for that, and I will put their name up on the screen. I will have already reached out to them and got their contact info, but congratulations. It's a username, so it's not really anything I was looking at it, and I was I don't know if that's even something you would pronounce, but there you go. So congratulations, and thank you everyone for the nice comments on that last episode. Let's start off with some FOs. I feel like I have been doing a prolific amount of knitting because it is so hot. We're just sitting on the couch trying to stay cool. So the first thing that I finished is my Sunshine Tee by Andrea Gaughan. So I talked about this in the last episode, and I did this in Tarja. I added this in Tarja Circle. And I did knit it flat, so you knit the back, then you start the front, and at the point where you would join to knit in the round, I just left it flat. So I was knitting all the way across here, doing my little intarsia switch, and then knitting all the way around the back, and then coming back. And so there's like a little tiny side seam here that's invisible, and then I finished off the little shirt. I love the way it fits. I will include a little video of me wearing it. I get a lot of compliments on it. Yeah, I just am really, really happy with it. So yeah, what else is there to say? I use Spin Cycle Dyed in the Wool in one of their tonal colors. They have like a tonal line of dyed in the wool that are named after cities. This one is called Scranton. I think I ended up using 6 total, which is a lot of Spin Cycle, I am aware. I do work at a store that carries Spin Cycle, and so I do get a little bit of a discount. So I just like, once I envisioned it, I couldn't let the vision go, and I'm really happy with how this turned out. I was even like going so far as to be like, could I buy fiber in the color that I'm thinking and spin all the yarn for it? And that would have been just like a much longer project, and frankly I wanted to wear it, and I was wearing it until this heat wave. It is too hot to be wearing it right now. Today the high is going to be like 101. That's absurd. And I'm from Southern California, and this weather is one of the reasons I moved away. So yeah. My other finished object is this pair of socks that I was working on in the last episode. So this is a Lang Super Sock colorway from their Cities line. I don't know, that's funny, I didn't realize that was like a trend, that like I was knitting colorways named after cities, but this is the colorway Rome. I saw someone knitting with this colorway at a knit night, and I like sat on the couch, took a picture of the label, and like ordered a skein like right then and there. It's just all of my colors, and I'm really happy with the way they turned out. I actually planned to add a little bit of reinforcement thread at the toe, which I did on this sock, but I was knitting these at Black Sheep in my booth, and I didn't bring it with me, and I still wanted to finish them, so I just finished them without adding the reinforcement thread. So they turned out really pretty. I have been wearing them a little bit, even though it's so hot, because I'm stubborn and I'm excited about new knits. So yeah, they were good fun. They were just the vanilla, I think they're called the vanilla latte socks, but it just has like a rib that is garter, so it's like, it's 6 in stockinette and then 2 in garter. That's just like the patterning. So I like this pattern, but I do find that if I'm like watching a performance or watching a movie, and I have to give it my full attention, like I've been going to a lot of plays recently, then it's a little complicated. It's a little too complicated to work on like in that situation, and socks are usually my like take them somewhere to work on them. So as much as I like these, I think that I will be sticking with just like plain stockinette socks for like my next cast on. And then last but definitely not least, I recorded a segment in the last podcast episode about blankets, which was, as I had stated, unusual for me. And I edited out the section about a blanket that we were gifting to someone in my knitting group. So I'm going to edit in a scene from the last podcast episode before we gifted it, so I can tell you a little bit more about that project. It turned out very sweet. She really loved it, and I'll include some photos. So the first blanket that I'm going to talk about, I might have to edit out depending on when I put this episode out, because it is for one of my Knit Night book club friends who is currently pregnant. So a bunch of us got together. I picked a pattern, I picked the yarn, and then I just voluntold everyone what to do. And it is the Vivid Blanket by Tin Can Knits. And we're using a yarn from a mono that is called Touré. So it is 50% wool, superwash wool, 50% cotton. And this is the color of all of the squares. So it's this really nice lace pattern in the middle. I don't know if you can see that very well, with a garter border. And this one is blocked. This one is not blocked. So the blocking is a very important part of this process. It's very interesting because everyone's was mostly the same size, but you know, when it's a bunch of knitters, we all have such different gauges. So even though we were all like, oh, mine is 9 by 9, once I wet them and started laying them out, I was like, ooh, these are different sizes. So I still have a few to block, which I was kind of hoping that I could block that and the Sunshine Tee at the same time, but I'm not 100% sure when I'm gonna finish the Sunshine Tee, so. But I've laid them out into an order. It looks like this, and I'm just about to start seaming them, and we are giving it to her at our next book club meeting, which I think is, so it's in 2 weeks. So this episode might come out, yeah, I'm not sure I'm going to include it, but I'm recording this. I will save this clip and I will put it in the next podcast episode with a little unfurling of the finished blanket. Maybe even some pictures of Riley opening it up. So very excited about that. It's been a fun project to work on. I've never done a baby blanket like this before. I've always wanted to, so I was like, oh, this is the perfect opportunity. And yeah, it's very sweet, and I think Riley will be very appreciative. It was really special to be able to gift that to Riley, and we are all so happy she loved it, and also just being able to get together and work on seaming it up added to kind of just like the community feel of the blanket. I'm really grateful that I was like, I'm gonna need help doing this, because it would have taken me all weekend, and instead it just took us a few hours where we were able to chat and eat some pastries and drink some coffee. So it was it was just a really special project. It was a very special process, and I'm really glad that we were able to yeah, get it together for her. Okay, now let's talk about some whips. I also feel like I've made so much progress on my whips lately, which I don't always feel like happens, so I'm feeling good about it. So the first thing I've talked about a little bit before is called the High Time Tank. And this is my tank at the moment. This pattern is not out yet. I'm still in the testing process, and it looks like just a tank top, but I will be adding fringe along this cabled line. So it's Western wear inspired, and Golden Boy Knits, who is the designer, does have a tee version of this out. Yeah, so I am really liking the color. I'm really liking the way it feels. I did block it the other night. A couple of things. One is that the neckline and armholes are not finished. I found that mine just looked a little sloppy. I'm not sure if I didn't 100% follow the directions and just did the shaping, but I ended up picking up with a smaller needle and just adding maybe 4 rows and then binding off to give it a rolled hem, which I'm really happy with. I think though that the armhole might be a little short, and I'm sort of not wanting to, but I might undo that rolled hem that I added and undo the 3 needle bind off and add some length just at the strap so that they're maybe an inch or 2 bigger. And then of course I have to add all of the fringe. And if you missed the last episode, I am using this ridiculous sparkly polyester stuff, which is very out of character for me, but I couldn't resist. And so the pattern, you know, she had done all the calculations and she was like, you're just gonna need like 2 skeins of fingering weight yarn. I like checked my yardage and it seemed like it was all gonna work out. And I ran out of yarn at like, I had like 12 rows to knit. And I was like, we're getting, it's getting dicey. And I like knew I was like, I should have trusted my instinct that I should have bought 3, but I just was like, I'm gonna buy 2, I'm gonna listen to the pattern. And it was great because Mondim, which is what I knit this in, is like, I think like 15 for a skein. So I was like a $30 little top, love this. But yes, I did run out, so they will be adjusting that for the pattern. And again, I'm still debating about the armhole depth. And I do think part of that is because I added the rolled hem, that it kind of cinched it up a little bit. So, you know, it's all, this is why we do test knits. But yeah, I'm excited to start adding the fringe, and I think I want to wear it to walk in the Pride Parade. Portland does Pride in July because we have other events that happen like annually in June. So they've started doing it in July. So in like 2 weekends, I believe, I'll be walking with Kay, who will be part of a contingent. So that should be fun, and I thought I'd be like nice and, you know, fringy for the walk, but we'll see how hot it is, because this is definitely a woolly wool. And I have this project in my Hohi bag, which I really love, and then I also have my Cowgirl Rodeo pin from Tuesday Bassin that me and my friend Molly both have. And then I do have progress on my Cry for Help blanket, which maybe I should rename, but that's sort of just what it has become. So this is from a homespun house. It's one of her patterns, and it uses up exactly like a 25 gram mini. Like, it leaves just like a smidge left. It's garter, and like, actually I'm knitting it slightly different. I added an I-cord border along either edge. I think hers you knit completely garter and then you pick up and knit you knit on afterwards an I-cord border that's in one color, but yeah, I didn't want to do that, so I just added it. And so I added a stitch marker somewhere. Of course, it doesn't help that I'm in the middle of a row, but this is where I was last time. So I've finished one stripe, added a second, and then started actually knitting my next stripe, which is the leftovers from these socks. So that's fun. I was really missing this like bright pop. Like, I love this bright pop down here. So I used this like almost like neon purple, and yeah, it's just really fun. So I'm almost done with my second skein of Mondim. This has really just been like sitting by my computer because I do so much video editing, and especially now that we're doing Sibling Energy like every 2 weeks, I like watch back through it a couple of times, and so while I'm watching it, I'll just knit on this. So that's what's happening. You guys, it's so hot that I was like thinking about this earlier, I might just bring my computer, which is a desktop, it's not a laptop. I might just bring my desktop down into the living room for like a couple weeks, because it's a lot. It's a lot. Okay, let me talk about my sheep camp. So Tim and I are hosting a knit-along. It's sponsored by Starlight Knitting Society. which is the store we both work at, with prizes from Starlight, with prizes from Woolfolk, and with prizes from Emtothethird Yarn Co. And we're all knitting the sheep camp sweater. It's basically a big, fun summer knit-along. And I have actually finally started making some progress on this. It just like, I couldn't prioritize it because I was like finishing, you know, test knit, that shirt, everything. So now I have finally, in the heat of this weekend, done some, made some headway. And I'm really happy with the colors. It feels nice to do some color work. Both of those projects were fingering weight, the Circle T and the tank. And the Circle T, I ended with like several inches of fingering weight stockinette, and then the High Time tank is bottom up, and so then I had to start with like 11 inches of fingering weight stockinette the other way, and I was just like, this is not it. This is not it. I don't want to be knitting this much fingering weight stockinette. And it was so boring that even like sitting and watching a TV show wasn't enough. I don't know if you ever had that, where it's like your knitting is so easy that like you need so much stimulation to want to work on it. But the only way I was really getting a lot done was by like going to a bar and hanging out with people and like just being in a space like that, because it's like, okay, we're having a conversation, we're talking, whatever. And that was like my ideal place to work on these projects. So I've been doing a lot of like cute bar hangouts for the summer, and I have no regrets about that. So yeah, I've been working on this guy. I'm finally past the point of the increases. And one of the critiques that I've heard consistently about this pattern is that the yoke is really long. So, you know, you always want a little bit of ease under your arm, because if not, every time you lift your arm, the whole side of the sweater is going to come up with it. With circular yokes, that becomes problematic because it kind of starts to look like a swan show instead of a sweater. So a lot of people have talked about sort of different ways of modifying the yoke depth. And one of the ways that Tim and I talked about when we were initially talking about the pattern was to eliminate one of these like triangle motifs. So that just takes about an inch. And then additionally also doing the sleeve separation immediately after the color work. When I was at my spinning hangout this weekend, McKenna, who was so inspired by my colors, she picked the same ones. She was working on hers, and she had gotten to the sleeve separation. And she had separate for the sleeves and body right before the last section of color work. So that last section went on to the sleeves a little bit, and then she just like knit the sleeves, and I really loved the way that that looked, and I was like, I think I may be copying you like you copied me. Tit for tat. So I think that's what I'm gonna do. Of course, like once I get a little further, I'm gonna have to try it on and just like see. But in general, like I just think the graphic design of this is so striking. Everyone's looks so good. And I know like when I'm at knitting events, I see a lot of people wearing this sweater, and I'm always like, ooh, it's so like striking. So I'm really excited to kind of get mine going. But yeah, I mean, the knit along goes until September, so I feel like it's been kind of nice to just have this in my pocket to work on when other projects like are, you know, at a pause or whatever. So yeah, it's in my little like bento bag from Atelier that was dyed by a bird for keeping warm. So it's naturally dyed. It's definitely fading. I've had this for a long time now, maybe like 8 or 9 years. But yeah, I love these little linen bento bags quite a bit. let's see. And then the last whips that I want to talk about, whips plural, are my sock projects. Let me take a sip of seltzer. So the last couple whips I have are socks. They're in my cute little Beautiful Sisters bag. So I've talked about these and I've kind of been having issues with them, but my Christmas Eve cast on this year, I wanted it to be really special. We were out at the coast, and so I brought some hand spun that I had made out of an Artifacts of Appreciation bat, and I also brought some black mohair silk from Knitting for Olive, and I knit this little sock. I was finishing my Advent self-striping sock from Woolens and Nosh, and so I knew I had my like sock needles, and I didn't really consider the fact that the hand spun would end up being a little thicker and that maybe I'd want a bigger needle, so I just went with the US ones. And I knit this sock basically over the weekend, and then I started the second one and I was like, this is awful. It's too thick for the needle. I should have gone up to at least a 1.5, maybe a 2. And it's just not super pleasant to knit because the fabric is so dense. Now, if I'd left out the mohair, maybe that would have been better, but it was just like one of those moments where I really wanted that to be my project, and I wasn't listening to like the red flags of this hand spun sock. And so I just like powered through, but I didn't really think about how awful it would be to knit the second one. So I've been really struggling with it. I'm like, I want these to be done, but like I should have done some things different. I should have like sort of thought about the things that I wasn't enjoying, but it was like Christmas and we were all so relaxed, and I persevered when perhaps I shouldn't have. I've even thought about undoing this, but it's like held with mohair and I don't want to. So yeah, all I did was add these little eyelet details just to like liven it up, but those are also a pain to knit. And then in the heel, I held some reinforcement thread, which made this even thicker and annoying, or more annoying. So I really like, I think I was implementing too many things at once, and in hindsight, I think I would have knit it without the mohair held double, except in the heel, and left out the reinforcement thread. That's probably what I would have done, but it's like too late. So I really wanted to cast on another pair of socks because I had finished that other pair at Black Sheep, but I was like, but you have sock whips, like you should finish your whips first. So I was like, okay, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna cast on for this new sock, but every row that I knit, I'm gonna knit a row of the hand spun sock, and that did actually really help motivate me, as silly as it may sound. So at this point, I was about here on this sock, not very far, and now I've turned the heel and I'm doing the gusset decreases, and the yarn is fairly thick, so it's not taking very long to make progress. So I think I will have these finished relatively soon. So I am happy that I sort of tricked my brain into working on it, and I've made some progress. And then the other socks, so I don't know if you guys have seen these on Ravelry, or seen, oh boy, I'm a mess. Hold on. I don't know if you all have seen the Hot to Go socks on Ravelry, but someone created a little colorwork design for Chapel Rowan song Hot to Go, and I saw those and I did think they were cute, but that wasn't what I was like, I want that but not that. So I had the idea to do What I really want is for it to say hot to go, but on the back of the sock only. So the design that is out right now goes around the cuff. So it's like a little, I felt like it was a little hard to read. So I charted out hot to go. And then of course I spilled water on it, so that's cool. But the chart is actually on my Ravelry, and my plan is to just do it along the back. I'm gonna try some stranded colorwork techniques to see if I can get it to do what I'm envisioning in my head. I really didn't want to do it in tarsia, even though that might be the best way to do it. I don't know yet. I'm just working on the cuff. So this yarn has been in my stash forever. It is like a plucky knitter colorway called Miss Manners, and I just always thought it was the perfect pink. And in fact, I bought 4 skeins of it off someone who was destashing it, because I was like, I never want to run out of this pink. So I have a whole skein hanged up in my stash still, and then this is basically a whole skein that's just been in a cake, and I've used bits and pieces of it in other projects over the years. So starting it off with that, and then I picked up this little Uni Merino Mini, which is just a superwash merino nylon from Universal Yarns, and I'm gonna do the color work in that. I just love like hot pink and red together. I think that's like a kind of trendy color combo at the moment, and I'm here for it. So yeah, that's my plan. I'll definitely give you progress. I hope that my idea works out, but like it could also not, and then I just abandon it. But I'll try and remember to give you an update regardless for next time I sit down to record. So those are like the main things that I've been working on, and again, I feel like I've made a lot of progress this month. I mean, I knew that the High Time tank was a test knit, and I had like a deadline on it, so I really powered through knitting some length on that, and then once it got into, you know, the top part, it was easy breezy, beautiful. So now let's talk about spinning a little bit. So I'm kind of feeling like I don't even know where to start, because I feel like I have so much to say. I have been really enjoying playing with fiber. Tim has a drum carder that we have made bats with before, that I've then spun yarn into, and he brought it over so that I could make some bats to sell at Black Sheep. And so we had a blast doing that. I was kind of just making some bats, like, you know, I'd sit down on a weekend and make a couple and then pop those into a bag, and I did end up selling out, which was very cool. So I planned to buy some fiber while I was at Black Sheep to kind of play with, to make some bats for Flock, which is coming up in Seattle, where I will also be vending. And so I've been not touching it, even though I really want to, so that I could share it with you first. And yeah, I've been having a lot of fun, like playing with fiber. So the first thing I did, and I talked about this a little bit, I went up to Tacoma to visit the Red Alder Fiber Arts Retreat, and just to walk around the showroom and kind of feel the vibe. And on our way back, we stopped in Chehalis and went to UNI, which is one of my favorite local yarn stores. And they were having a pop-up from Shaggy Bear Farms, which is a local sheep farm, and they have a lot of really beautiful fiber available, like roving and top. And I bought a bag of 4 ounces of Black Welsh Mountain roving. They are an endangered sheep breed. I just love how dark of a chocolate it is, and I had a vision of mixing it with some like really bright yellows and like oranges, and I don't know, it just got into my head and I couldn't let it go. So I watched some videos about making rollags with hand carders, because I do have hand carders, and I like made a few, but I found the process a little fiddly. I felt like I was missing something, like I wanted someone to show me in person because I just felt like I wasn't quite getting what I wanted to do. So then Tim and I had made this plan to play with the drum carder, and I actually made some bats on the drum carder, and that felt more of the effect that I was going for. So when I was at the park, I started finally spinning this fiber, these bats that I had been making. And the black Welsh mountain fiber behaved very differently. I hadn't really thought about what it was going to feel like. I just wanted to kind of let the fiber do what it wanted to, and it really wanted to be thicker. It's almost like hair-like it felt. Like it, you know, I'm so used to spinning with merino, with cormo, and I can get very, very fine singles, and this was like, I do not want to be fine singles. That is not how I would like to act. So it just came off as pretty thick singles. And so I filled 2 bobbins with it and then plied those together, and I definitely would say it's kind of a chunky, it's pretty dense despite some of the preparation being roll lags, but I think it turned out very cool. So this is that skein. I got only about, I think, I counted as I was putting it on my knitting naughty, and it's only about 72 yards, so it will be like a fun accent in something at some point. I've even thought about like maybe like doing like some coasters, like weaving some coasters or something. But yeah, it was a really fun experience to work with like a new to me endangered fiber, sheep breed fiber. And it was definitely surprising, but like in a really cool way. So yeah, that's like my one finished spinning moment. I also finished spinning up the singles from this bat from Yanni Makes, which I did mention in the last episode because I used it to ply with something else, and that was like a finished skein from last time. And so I only have 4 bobbins, so I was like very quickly running out of bobbins and realized I needed to put this on something, so I just cut a paper towel roll in half. I know people use paper towel rolls and whatnot, so I've got all these singles. It's a very cool bat that like had these like neon silk threads running through it that were very, very fine. So I'll use this to ply with something at some point. Yeah, I'm just kind of having fun with the process. I've talked recently, if you've watched other videos, about how I'm kind of outgrowing my spinning wheel, and it's been really nice like to be at Black Sheep, then to hang out with my friends in the park, and to start talking about what I'm looking for in a wheel, and getting just, you know, anecdotal suggestions, and people with a little more expertise than I have giving me suggestions. So yeah, people are keeping eyes out for me on like Facebook Marketplace about specific wheels that I'm interested in, and providing me opportunities to like try spinning on different wheels. And yeah, so I kind of want to bring that up because I know people don't necessarily have access to that kind of community, especially if you're not in a city. But I'm just feeling really grateful that I have found that here in Portland, and have been able to, yeah, tap into it. So I'll keep you updated on my wheel journey, and we'll see where it goes. Okay, so the last thing that I want to tell you about is my haul from Black Sheep Gathering, and also a smaller haul from a local yarn store just outside of Portland. So yeah, Black Sheep Gathering was so fun. It is a long show as a vendor. It is 3 days. I went by myself, but That was where we filmed the last episode of Sibling Energy, so Tim and Emily were there to keep me company, which I really enjoyed and appreciated. And it's also so enticing to start looking around, right? So I've been holding off on playing with this fiber because I wanted to show it to you first. But I did pick up some more of the Black Welsh Mountain Roving from Shaggy Bear, as well as some of this California Red Roving. This is 4.2 ounces and this is 4 ounces. And like I said, I had such an interesting time spinning this because it just didn't want to be really fine. Although I will also do some spinning with this just by itself, not carded with anything. And similarly, this like California Red feels like dense. You know, it's so funny how like used to we get to merino, because that's like one of the most popular wools and yarns out there at the moment. So it's really fun to have the opportunity to work with some more unusual breed specific fibers. And then I picked up from my friend Heather, who is Girl with a Hook, this amazing dyed merino top. This is 4.7 ounces, and of course they're just like all my colors. They're basically very similar to this that I spun. Heather and I are constantly like, oh my god, I love what you're wearing. And we're like, of course I like what you're wearing. Of course you like what I'm wearing, because we have like the same color sensibility. Just like neon yellows, scummy yellows, oranges, corals, hot pinks, like this like steely petroleum blue. So yeah, I got this braid from her and I'm excited to play with that. Not sure what I'm going to do with it yet. If I'm going to do some bats, I'm not sure. So I bought that, love her. And then Heather also gave me these earrings. She makes these out of hand-dyed, hand-spun, and then she like plies it with like a metal wire. I'm not sure how she makes them, but she gave me these ones and I absolutely love them, get a lot of compliments on them. So thank you, Heather. And she has some available on her website. There are some available in store at Starlight Knitting Society. So go check those out if they appeal to you. And then I picked up a couple bits from Skagg Woolen Mills, which is very exciting because they largely work with Pacific Northwest wools. So this one is Jacob and Icelandic. It's this one of my favorite like sheep colors, just like a warm gray. So this is 2 ounces, and then this is Shetland, and this is also 2 ounces. So I wanted to take both of these and spin and see what I like, because I am considering getting enough for a sweater quantity. So I got these kind of just to see how I like them and experiment a little bit. And Skagg is just a really, really cool company, and I was glad to get to chat with them a little bit, so I will keep you updated on that. And then the only yarn I got at the festival was from Always Be Kind yarn. They were both so sweet, and this is a self-striping yarn that is the inclusive pride rainbow flag, or like the progress pride flag that looks like that. And so it will self-stripe like that. And they also gave me a couple stickers. So that's really nice. I love Knitting K rainbow socks. I mentioned this in the podcast episode. Yeah, I really love Knitting K rainbow socks. They have, I think, 3 pairs of like rainbow socks. So this will be number 4, and they were really excited about it. So yeah, Always Be Kind is very sweet, and I was glad I got to meet them and chat with them. Last but certainly not least are all the baskets I bought. I mean, look at this. I love her. Love her. She has this amazing handle, and yeah, I think it's gonna be like a little spinning basket, project basket, whatever, but amazing. And then I also picked up a purse. I mean, this is a huge purse, okay? I was texting with Emily and Tim and being like, I can fit everything for the lake in one bag. Like, I've got my towel, I've got a blanket, I've got my snacks, I've got a book, I've got knitting, I've got my wallet. Like, it's amazing, ginormous, it's lined. Yeah, so I got one for myself, and then I sent a picture of it to my sister, and she was like, ugh, I want one. And so I was like, okay. So I went to the booth and I like recorded like all of the options because there were so many beautiful colors. And she was like screenshotting it and circling the ones that she wanted. And so I got her this one. They're really pretty. And she's actually coming to visit this weekend, so I will be able to deliver this to her, as well as like some kitty related things that I bought at the new Daiso that is open here. For those of you who don't know what Daiso is, it's like a dollar store of cute Japanese things. And they used to be like in the Bay Area. I would go to them and get all my like notebooks for classes. And so one just opened up here very close to Portland. And so so my mom and I went out there and found some goodies. So yeah, I don't usually do hauls. Like, I kind of try to avoid it, but when I'm at like a local festival and there's some goodies, it's very hard to avoid. Last but not least, we went to the lake to cool off, and it is very close to a yarn store that I do not get out to very often, called Naughty Lamb. That's in Forest Grove. And so we were there and they had AC, and so Kay was like, let's stop by and check it out. So I got just a couple things. One is a skein of Yarn Hero. I just, of course, like love these colors. And then I also got a skein of the Cotton Merino Knitting for Olive. We have Knitting for Olive at Starlight Knitting Society, but we only carry the pure silk, the merino, the silk mohair, and the heavy merino. And so I've been really wanting to try out the cotton merino, and this particular color is so my vibe. I'm thinking I'll do like a little simple scarf just for like a neck pop of color. But if you have a fingering weight handkerchief, bandana pattern that you really love, leave it down below in the comments, because I'm not sold on doing a simple thing by any means, and I just want like maybe a hair, maybe a neck, something with this to style. Whew, that was a lot. Okay. Thank you guys for hanging out. I always like catching up with you. I know I had a lot to chat about. I tried to do it fast so that we're not here forever. But I've been really appreciative of all your support in both Sibling Energy and the Emtothethird Knitting Podcast. I will remind you that I'm going to be at Flock Fiber Festival in Seattle next month, August 9th through 11th. If there are not still tickets available, they will have day of tickets. So if you're planning to come up from Portland for the day, come up from Portland for the day, or wherever you're located, it is definitely worth the trek. There's so many amazing vendors. It's going to be very fun. And I will also be at Sacred Sheep in November here in Portland. So lots of opportunities to hang out in person and shop my wares, and I'm really excited to work on some more fiber bats for y'all. So thank you so much, and I'll see you next time. Bye.